Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest news across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on the programme this evening. The grainy webcam image, which could offer a glimmer of hope for the family of Jay Slater, will be live from Tenerife with the latest on the 8th day of the search for him. Exclusive access for our cameras. This is the 100th patient to have this treatment for a mystery brain condition, treatment to transform his life. 10 days away from the general election, and we're in the seat that's 100% guaranteed to get a new MP. The gridiron in Granada land. We find out why American football's Chicago Bears want to expand into the northwest.
And Toby says, come on in, the water's just lovely. In fact, temperatures hotting up inland and along our coast over the next few days. I'll have a full forecast later on in the programme. So stay with us for all of that. First tonight, is there a glimmer of hope for the family of Jay Slater a week on from when the teenager from Oswestwhistle was reported missing on the island of Tenerife? The latest development is that an image of 19-year-old Jay may have been captured by a webcam in a town 3 miles from his last known location. The search for him is now in its 8th day, a time of terrible worry for his friends and family, many of whom are in Tenerife waiting for news. What we know is that Jay went to the NRG Music Festival in the southern resort of Playa de las Americas on Sunday, June the 16th. At some stage that night, he went to an Airbnb in the remote Rural de Teno Park. He went with people he'd met at the festival, but then just a few hours later, he started the 10-hour walk back to his accommodation. On Monday morning, he called a friend from a location in the Rural de Teno Park to say he was lost and needed water. On Tuesday, June the 19th, following a false lead, Spanish police started searching an area near Los Cristianos. The following day, they switched their search back to an area near the village of Masca. That was near where he'd originally gone missing, but nothing has been heard of him since. Our correspondent Mel Barham is in Tenerife tonight. Mel, how hopeful should anyone be about this CCTV image?
Well, Rob, this grainy CCTV image could just be the update that Jay Slater's family have been hoping and praying for. As you say, it was captured by a webcam on a building just to my right here on last Monday evening at about 6 p.m. Now, that's some 10 hours after Jay was last heard from. Now, you can see here, it's not a very clear image, but it does appear to show a man with a similar appearance to Jay. And why this is so significant is if it is him, it would be proof that he was still alive some 10 hours after that last contact was made. It would also give a big clue as to the route that he took after he left that mountainous remote B&B in Masca. Now, we know that his phone last pinged in the Parc de Teno area, which is some 3.5 miles away from here in Santiago del Teide. The Guardia Civil have told us they are not ruling it in that this is Jay, but they're also not ruling it out, and they have also said they are not going to disclose any information whilst that search continues. And Mel, the fundraising page set up to support Jay's family and friends has hit £30,000, hasn't it? It has, Lucy, but crucially, that fund has actually now been frozen. Jay's mum, Debbie Duncan, posted on that page that we have not yet withdrawn any funds and are currently covering the expenses such as the trip to Tenerife and the accommodation ourselves. She goes on to say that those funds will remain on hold with GoFundMe until we post a further update on this page. Now, meanwhile, we've also heard from GoFundMe themselves. They've told us that they're in touch with Jay Slater's mum and they're working with her to keep everyone updated on how those donations will be used in the search. For now, though, they say the money is with GoFundMe as we work through the next steps. Well, this search has been continuing today. There are missing posters up here in Santiago, and despite this now going into the second week, there are still no shortage of volunteers wanting to help. Earlier today, I spoke to Andrew Knight, who's an expat who's been living here in Tenerife for the last 10 years. He has been offering cars up from his car rental business to anyone who wants to go and help with that search. And he says, really, this community is really getting involved.
everyone is still pulling together, everyone is still working extremely hard to try and find him and get some form of clue or information on where he might be, where he could have turned up, where he might have gone. So it's still very much an active search. Everyone working extremely hard, long hours, and investigating every possible single route that they can.
Well, of course, this nightmare continues for Jay's family, who must be so desperate for any news on his whereabouts. Every single day that goes past, just adding to their torment.
And of course, we'll keep you updated. Mel, thank you very much for that.
The convicted murderer Lucy Letby has told a jury that she has never intended or tried to harm any baby in her care. She's on trial at Manchester Crown Court accused of trying to murder a baby girl known in court as Child K. It's claimed it happened more than 8 years ago in the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Last August, another jury convicted her of murdering 7 babies and trying to murder 6 others at the hospital. The former nurse began giving evidence at the trial today and denies the charge.
Police have launched a murder investigation after a man was shot in Liverpool. 19-year-old Ellis Cox was treated by paramedics at the Liver Industrial Estate just after 11 o'clock last night. He later died in hospital.
Manchester airports say they're running as normal after a major power cut affected baggage and security systems. Passengers were told no flights would depart from Terminals 1 and 2 after the outage hit yesterday. Power has now been restored. In a statement, bosses warned the airport would be busier than usual.
Well, next tonight, a man who has had life-changing medical treatment, and he made a bit of history at the same time. He is the 100th person to have this revolutionary treatment for essential tremor. That's a neurological condition that affects about 1 million people in the UK.
Steve O'Connor from Manchester had what's called a focused ultrasound at the Walton Centre in Liverpool. To mark the milestone, the hospital granted Granada reports exclusive access to see how that procedure can change a life.
Yeah, as you see in the report coming up, the results are remarkable. Victoria Grimes has the details.
It's the first thing people notice. There we go. I'm a teacher. One of the first things I do is I have to disclose that I have a tremor, because otherwise people notice it and then make all sorts of assumptions.
Steve O'Connor's spent his whole life living with essential tremor. It makes even the simplest of tasks almost impossible. Doctors can't tell him why his hand shakes. He's had to learn to live with it and people's misconceptions.
My name is Stephen, so of course shaking Stevens was a big one. Sometimes when I was a kid I used to have really bad days where I couldn't even write or anything like that. I just want it gone. Oh, it's got to be gone.
How are you feeling ahead of the procedure today?
Anxious. I really want it to work. It's going to be weird and revolutionary to not have it, to be able to experience things like people do. I've never known that.
What are you most looking forward to being able to do when the procedure's done?
At some point I'd really like to marry my partner, and it's be things like raising a toast at the reception and all that sort of thing. And right now I couldn't do that and not spill my drink everywhere.
Steve's undergoing focused ultrasound treatment at the Walton Centre in Liverpool. It's one of only 2 NHS hospitals in the UK to offer it. Despite his nerves, he's agreed to let us film it.
Can you open your eyes?
Steve will be awake throughout, but is given local anaesthetic to keep him comfortable. The treatment's carried out by neurosurgeon Jibril Osman Farah. He's already mapped the spot he needs to target. Steve must wear a special headpiece so that around 1,000 ultrasound beams can penetrate. They'll all meet at the same spot.
We are targeting this spot, which is 5 to 6 millimeter in diameter. We burning it, so we are, let's say, breaking the circuit of the tremor, and we are able to stabilize the hand.
Throughout the procedure, doctors check if it's working by asking Steve to draw spirals. It also helps them to identify potential side effects before they occur.
Drawing a spiral will give an indication on how good is going to be the control of the intentional tremor.
There's a marked difference between the baseline drawings at the beginning and those after the first targeted treatment, and even more so after the second.
So this is just after the treatment what we just did now. We can see the lines are really improved and the spirals are quite good.
Well, Steve's just become the 100th patient to have this treatment here at the Walton Centre. The whole thing's taken less than 2 hours.
And the results are astonishing.
The moment of truth.
And yeah.
I've never been able to do that.
No. Okay.
Are you happy?
Yes. Very.
Mr. Farrow, how does it feel to know that you've changed 100 lives?
This procedure is generally linked with a good outcome, so it's very good, yeah, and very satisfying for the staff as well.
You must feel very proud.
Yeah, I'm very happy, yeah.
I've gone from this to this. Watch this.
Maureen Greenough was the first person to have the treatment here in 2022. We filmed with her afterwards.
Wow.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you.
Today she's back at the Walton Centre and happy to meet Steve.
Yeah, it was yesterday that I had it done.
How's life changed since you had this procedure, Maureen?
You don't get embarrassed. You can go out and have a meal.
Were you frightened of being with people before?
Yeah, I was, because in my mind they was watching me. And now I don't care because there's nothing for them to see. So it is life-changing.
Saw your film.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Got a little bit emotional about it because when you did that with the cup, it was like,
I know.
come on.
Well,
I tried not to get emotional, but did a bit.
So it's not even been 24 hours. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Really good. I've had 2 cups of tea, 2 hot chocolates, without spilling them all over myself, which has been great. One of the first responses I saw was my partner. And yeah, she just smiled at me, and that was like, boom.
So are you going to set a wedding date?
And I'd love to get married at some point. At the reception afterwards, being able to raise a toast. And now, it shouldn't be a problem.
Victoria Grimes, ITV News, Liverpool.
How incredible is that? Well done to everyone at the Walton Centre.
Wow,
Brilliant.
absolutely wow. Now, as electioneering heats up across the northwest, there are some seats where a change is guaranteed. People in Wirral West on Merseyside will definitely be getting a new MP after the previous one decided not to stand this time around.
Yeah, and boundary changes also mean that the shape of the constituency isn't the same anymore. Currently held by Labour, it is 5th on the list of targets for the Conservatives nationwide.
Our Merseyside correspondent Andy Bonner looks into what it could all mean for voters.
The western side of the Wirral Peninsula has a picture postcard presence, but don't let these charming villages and towns fool you. Behind the smiles of this baby and toddler group in West Kirby, there are real concerns about the world these youngsters will inherit. Education is just one worry. Local mum Anna had to quit her teaching job because of cuts in the sector.
If I was a teacher and I was just able to teach, my life would be so much easier. But I was more of a social worker. So how can I teach a child how to write their name if they don't even speak or they can't use the toilet properly?
So you don't think you'll return?
I can't see myself in the classroom for a long time.
There's like a toxic environment in schools. We have 20 PopCats leaders. 18 of us are qualified teachers but have left because of the stress.
New dad Adam is a teaching assistant but has had to go part-time because he can't afford the childcare.
At the school I work in, we have a social shop, and I see staff members using it, because we have to, we're not paid enough, and that's not just support staff, it's the teachers.
For others like grandmother Les, crime and healthcare are issues.
The country just feels a bit broken, really. What do we need? More police, more GP appointments that we can get to. And it's just that personal care of knowing your own family doctor like you used to years ago.
All Lindsay wants to do is find an NHS dentist.
There was a local place offered to me in Bootle, and then when I rang up to speak to them about it, it was taken away because there was someone else kind of nabbed the spot. So.
But you say local in Bootle?
Yes,
I mean,
and that's miles away. Yeah.
This is a really interesting seat because since it was created about 40 years ago, it has flipped and flopped between Labour and Conservative a number of times. And that is down in part to the diversity of this area. And here, in places like Woodchurch, they can often feel like it's a forgotten corner of the patch. That's all too apparent in the local pub.
West Kirby has one with, if they want something, they get it done. The likes of Birkenhead and whatever, like Woodchurch, other estates around, the money doesn't get spent.
Local issues like the recent closure of the estate's leisure centre are on people's minds.
Lovely swim baths. My girls have got 3 daughters, they all learn to swim in there. And then our beloved council went and closed it for some reason.
Saving money?
I don't think so. A lot of people use it.
But there is one main topic of conversation around this bar.
Immigrants.
You've been watching the debates, have you seen them?
I've seen some of them, but, you know, this immigrant business, there's not one of them who'll stand up and got a backbone and say enough's enough. There's too many coming in. I'm not prejudiced by any means.
Boundary changes mean picturesque Thornton Hough is now in Wirral West. Villagers recently fought against plans for new housing on the green belt. Environmental issues remain important here.
I like nature. I love caring for what we have in this country, and I think personally that's the only thing I really care about.
Climate change has got to be on the agenda. You can't get away from it. I feel that, you know, that's sort of missing. It keeps being delayed. I feel that's the single biggest thing that affects us all.
In this village steeped in the past, they know this could be a decisive moment for the future of the whole country. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Wirral.
And here are all of the candidates standing for election in Wirral West.
And later this evening, the Tonight programme will be speaking to some of the party leaders fighting for your vote.
Yeah, ITV has heard from the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, co-leader of the Green Party, Carla Denyer, as well as the SNP's John Swinney.
They all have an alternative vision for the country and hope the ideas in their manifestos will be enough to win votes.
That of the people that have been coming into work over the course of the last 2 years, these vast numbers that we've talked about, 50% are dependents. So we just need some plain common sense on this. And the population explosion is impacting the life of every single person in this country.
We're not afraid to talk about how we would raise that. So, as we discussed earlier, it's about changes to the tax system that would move the onus from those on lower incomes who can't afford to pay very much towards those with the broader shoulders who absolutely can.
You think that the SNP's destroyed its chances of ever leading Scotland to independence?
No, I think we've had a rough time for a few years, and I'm in here to sort that all out, to build our trust with the voters of Scotland.
And you can see those interviews in full on ITV1 and on ITVX from 7 o'clock tonight.
Now, a complete change of subject. Our region is, of course, renowned the whole world over for its football, but today children in Manchester have been trying out a different kind of football.
The Chicago Bears have been putting youngsters through their paces to introduce them to American football.
The US franchise wants to build up the city as a base for its UK fans, and one of their superstars says that he would love to play a game in Manchester in the future, as David Chisnell reports.
Big hits, big plays, and big names as American football comes to Manchester. One of the sport's most successful teams, the Chicago Bears, delivered a masterclass to school children from across the city. With their superstar wide receiver DJ Moore flying in to help out.
Welcome to Manchester. What is it like being here with the kids today?
It's a lot of fun. They started off with a bunch of trash talk, so now I'm involved a great deal. So we're just gonna have fun with it, though.
You were challenged, weren't you? Someone said they were quicker than you. You're gonna have to race off later on.
Oh no, I'm not racing off, but I will if I have to if they keep going.
Stay low and stay in front. We're bringing real football players who are playing now, who have played in the past, and we're giving the kids the chance to actually feel and talk to us and see what the sport's about.
Hey, y'all ready to have some fun? Yeah!
Well, the Bears' mini monster sessions encourage children to be fit and healthy while introducing them to a new sport.
It's really fun. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's like you're not going to be doing this again.
Very fun. We've done lots of activities that I've never done before.
Did you know anything? Do you know anything about American football?
They all have the ball down and they throw it back, and then someone makes a run and they dash it, and they have to catch it and try and go on the wherever the touchdown.
The Bears will play in London later this year, and as they look to grow their UK fan base, hope one day to bring an NFL game to Manchester.
I don't know whether you know, but it's a huge sporting city with two massive, what we call football soccer teams in United and City. Would you like to see American football come up here and be played as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I went to Manchester United yesterday. It'll be amazing to play a game in there, so hopefully we do it.
Manchester's very similar to Chicago. It's a sports city. It's very blue collar and it's very diverse, and those are things that are very similar to Chicago. Really, when we're in Manchester, it feels like home.
Well, DJ's young family were feeling at home as his daughter also joined in the session. Yay! And the Bears hope days like today will continue to grow their fan base family right here in the Northwest. David Chisnell, ITV News, Manchester.
Yeah, lots of new fans today.
Yeah, just a bit. Now to a man who spent 3/4 of his life making us laugh.
Yeah, Mick Miller was born in Liverpool. He first came to our attention on New Faces back in the 1970s. He went on to join a Granada television series called The Comedians, you might remember, and he now lives in Blackpool. He'll be part of the Blackpool Comedy Festival next month.
Our entertainment correspondent Caroline Whitmore found out how he's mastered the art of staying relevant 50 years on.
I went to a gender reveal party, and the host came up to me and he just said, can you put your underpants back on and leave, please?
Mick Miller, here we are at the Comedy Club in Blackpool. You're a Liverpool boy originally, but you now live here in Blackpool, don't you?
I've lived here now 35 years. My first summer season was here on the South Pier. I do my own show in this wonderful comedy station, which is a great place. The old, end of pier job, them years have gone. After 50 years, I've been found to work comedy clubs. I know you're looking at the hair and thinking Hulk Hogan's let himself go.
50 years in showbiz. That's a great career for you. I mean, what has been your highlight over those years?
I've done everything I wanted to do, really. I did the Royal Command performance in Manchester at the Lowry. I've done the London Palladium. I worked in Vegas. It's absolutely fabulous. I've done everything. Yeah, been there, done it.
Got the very bright T-shirt. Yes.
No sparkly jackets anymore. It's all this stuff and jeans and a shirt, and that's it.
Talk to us about Blackpool Comedy Festival then. It starts on the 8th of July. You're here on the 13th of July. Just on your doorstep then, isn't it? What a great gig.
Saturday afternoon, the 13th. All the Winter Gardens have got the Grand Theatre. Basically, comedy everywhere for the week. Looking forward to it. It's a great place to work, Blackpool. People are in the mood. Blackpool's the only place where a seagull can fly with one wing because he's got a kebab on the other.
Take us back to the 1970s, the programme The Comedians.
It was a great experience, of course, Granada. It was Granada, the great Johnny Hamp. Have you stood in something, love? With the bald head and the long hair, people remembered me. There was 8 perms. Oh, and a few comb crosses. Colin Crompton, he brought it from under his armpit, I think.
Have you now realised the power of social media then?
My day, it was like video, wasn't it? If I do a gig somewhere, we'll put a little bit on TikTok. Millions of people watching it. And from all over the world. Yeah, we're still going. Yeah, we're still going.
I love it that you're still going 50 years later.
Caroline, thanks very much, thank you. If them gardens at Buckingham Palace are so good, why do they keep changing them?
Good to see him back now, the weather with Joe.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Hot weather to come over the next 3 days. Temperatures comfortably into the mid-20s Celsius and generally dry for our part of the world. After Thursday, though, a fresher feel, so some better news if you don't like it quite so warm. We're feeding up this warm air from the south for the time being, but Thursday morning we'll see a little front moving through from the west, and that will introduce the fresher conditions to end the week quite widely across the north of the UK. Back to this evening, lots of late brightness around, some mistiness and fog forming overnight tonight, and bits and pieces of cloud here and there. One thing's for certain, it's going to be a humid night for all of us, and in towns and cities, not falling much below 17 or 18 Celsius, so a very warm start to the day tomorrow with a light breeze for our part of the world. The sun is up tomorrow at 4:41 and will be setting at 9:46. Any early mist and fog will dissolve quite rapidly first thing tomorrow. Skies will brighten and winds fall light throughout the day. Into the afternoon, virtually unbroken sunshine for most places. However, slightly more cloud for the Pennines and the very small risk of an isolated shower perhaps. Generally, though, it's dry. Temperatures tomorrow getting to 25 or 26 Celsius, and it goes without saying UV levels are on the high side, so if you're working outside, don't forget your sun cream. Looking ahead to the next few days or so, on Wednesday, a beautiful day if you like it sunny and feeling very warm. And as I mentioned before, Thursday morning early on a front will move through, perhaps at a bit of showery rain at first, becoming drier through the afternoon, and Friday looks decent. But just notice those temperatures dipping back down to around a seasonal average as we get into this weekend, and perhaps a few showers to end the week.
Cleaned up well. United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
I'm afraid the struggle continues for hay fever sufferers through the rest of this week. Predominantly grass pollen, very high, down to high on Thursday. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, we like a seasonal average, according to our director, Matt, apparently.
Not so keen
Want
on
it
the
to
pollen,
cool
though.
down.
Have a nice day. Bye.